Hi, this is Chris with Nightfall Audiobooks, and today I have for you Trapped by R.L. Stine, the last book in the Fear Street line. This is book 51. From what I have read, part of this was used for Netflix's Fear Street trilogy, so I'm pretty eager to see what's going on in this novel. I purchased this from abebooks.com. They're not sponsored, but if they want to be, they can contact me. It's pretty well beat up. This is an expensive novel at like $15, so I got my copy very cheaply. This book belonged to a library in Waldorf, Maryland. The first date it was checked out was June 19th of 2002, and the last date it was checked out was June 17th of 2005. I have to take pictures of this and show it to everybody because the spine is absolutely trashed. The book is in very, very bad condition, and someone used Scotch tape to hold part of the spine together. It is very cool to see a book that has such a elaborate history, and apparently a very violent one, which is fitting for Fear Street. So this is about tunnels underneath Shadyside High, and something goes on down there. If you read Party Summer, one of R.L. Stine's Fear Street super chillers, which is pretty good by the way, I recommend that novel. It's about a tourist attraction that is being renovated, and the main characters all find a hidden door that leads to tunnels, and it goes out to the beach and things. So I guess R.L. Stine really likes this kind of idea. So let's begin. What should I read next? I don't know. Please send me an email, nightfallaudiobooks@gmail.com. I am also on YouTube at Nightfall Audiobooks. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the join button. I am also on Patreon, patreon.com/nightfallaudiobooks. Any help would be greatly appreciated. So tell your friends, tell your mom, tell whoever you think would like to listen to me tell them tales from R.L. Stine. Thank you very much for listening, and let's begin. Welcome to a Nightfall Audiobooks production of Trapped by R.L. Stine, a Fear Street novel, Book 51. Chapter 1. I can't believe I'm here, Elaine Butler muttered to herself. She steered her Civic around the deep puddle that always formed at the entrance to the Shadyside High parking lot. The windshield wipers whisked back and forth. Elaine shivered in her coat and sweatshirt. The heater hardly helped at all. I can't believe it, she thought. I'm really here on a Saturday. She tried to convince herself it was like any other day of school, but it wasn't. It was detention. I must be some kind of moron, she told herself, another chill running up her spine. She put the car in park and shut the engine. She couldn't bring herself to get out. A strong wind slapped rain against the windows. She gazed through the mist at Shadyside High. The old building stood cold, gray, and lifeless. The windows were dark. Only 2 other cars were parked in the lot. How did I get myself into this? Elaine asked herself. She remembered the moment clearly, a moment of total panic when she realized she forgot her trig homework. She had left it on her desk at home, finished down to the last formula, folded neatly, ready to go. But she forgot to put it in her math book. Her teacher, Mr. Forrest, wasn't sympathetic. That's 3 missed assignments, Elaine, he said, stroking his mustache. He scanned his gradebook in front of the whole class. Yes, 1, 2, and 3. He smiled. He's enjoying this, Elaine thought. In this class, Elaine, 3 is a charm. Please collect your books and go to the principal's office. Her classmates were silent the whole time, but Elaine could feel their eyes burning into her back as she left the room. They were probably thankful it wasn't them. Everyone knew that if you missed 3 homeworks in Mr. Forrest's trig class, you got detention. No second chances. I did the homework, Elaine pleaded, but I forgot it. That's a shame, Mr. Forrest replied, his expression unmoved. Elaine knew what she was in for. She had heard the rumors. The new principal, Mr. Savage, was changing things. The old detention was the first to go. No more 2 hours after school. That was too easy. It didn't solve anything. But if students had to sacrifice a whole day for their crimes, Mr. Savage's Saturday detention was born. And I'm the guinea pig, Elaine grumbled out loud, staring out her car window. She sighed. She couldn't sit there forever. She grabbed her backpack and got ready to run. Look at the bright side, she told herself. At least I'm not wasting a nice day. She slammed the car door and ran. It was a short distance, but the droplets still rolled down her neck like tiny ice cubes. The front door to the school burst open before she touched it. Elaine stopped so hard, her feet skidded on the wet marble of the walkway. She caught a glimpse of a pale hand gripping the crash bar from inside. The door opened wider. She gazed up into the face of Mr. Savage. His eyes were large and tired-looking, with dark bags under them. His cheeks were sunken. He always reminded Elaine of a sad hound dog. Mr. Savage opened the door wider. "Come in, Elaine." Elaine didn't hesitate. She shook herself off, trying to stay on the big rubber mat inside the door. She figured Savage would give her a hard time if she got water all over the floor. The hallway was dark. The only light came from the front office down the hall. "You're the last one," Savage announced, but he stared out the open door as if waiting for someone else. He wore a black suit and tie, even on a Saturday. "Who died?" Elaine wanted to ask. Savage let out a long sigh, took one last look at the rain, and let the door slam shut. Finally, his gaze fell on Elaine. "Mr. Savage?" she asked. He cocked an eyebrow. "Yes." I'm kind of new at this," she replied. "What do I do?" He smiled coldly. "You've never had detention before." "No." "You're a good student, Elaine," he stated. "I thought it was strange for you to get detention, so I reviewed your file." "Uh-oh," Elaine thought. "Good grades," he continued, "plus student council, track, and the newspaper. What did you do wrong?" Elaine's cheeks grew hot. "Missed 3 homeworks in Mr. Forrest's class," she murmured. "Oh, right," Savage nodded. "The homework you left at home." "Yeah." Elaine could tell that he didn't believe her. Why would he? Kids lied to him every day, even good students. "I don't suppose you'll be making a habit of this?" he asked dryly. "No." "Good. It would be a shame to ruin such a fine school record with a bunch of detentions." He sighed again. "Even I learned some hard lessons in my day. Truly hard." His voice trailed off. Elaine waited for him to say something else, but he just kept staring over her head. Elaine cleared her throat. The principal glared at her. "The others are in room 111, he said. "Please, go there." He turned and strode toward the front office. Immediately, she pictured herself slipping back out into the rain and heading to the mall. Yeah, spending the day there, calling up her friends, shopping, then telling her parents that detention wasn't all that bad. Not a chance. "This stinks," she muttered. She strode down the gloomy corridor toward room 111. Her footsteps echoed in the empty hall. The sound reminded her that she was here all by herself. No friends, no one to talk to, nothing but rain and homework for a whole Saturday. "I'll never miss another trig assignment as long as I live," she vowed. She pulled her jacket tighter around herself and tried to fight off the chill that refused to leave her body. It was going to be a long day. She had no idea how long, or how dangerous. Chapter 2. Light poured out from room 111. Voices rose in laughter. Elaine shifted the weight of her backpack and strode in. The laughter stopped when she entered. One guy, heavy-set and wearing a flannel shirt, scribbled on the blackboard. His hair hung down over his face, and his razor stubble was as thick as sandpaper. Another guy sat at a desk near the front. His name was Jerry Fox. Elaine knew him from her classes. He was short and slight, wearing a tan sweater and khakis. His sandy-colored hair was curly and cut close to his head. His biology textbook stood open in front of him. 2 others sat in the back of the classroom. The girl was brown-haired and pretty, but the intensely dark rings of makeup around her eyes gave her face a harsh quality. She wore a rock concert t-shirt and tight jeans. She popped a bubblegum bubble and stared. Elaine tried not to make eye contact. Elaine knew the last guy only by reputation. Bo Kendall, a real creep. He wore a torn army jacket, torn t-shirt, and torn jeans. His jet black hair was spiked short. His eyes locked on Elaine's as soon as she appeared. "Wow," she grumbled to herself. "Not my usual crowd." She knew the stories about Bo. Everyone knew the stories. Fights, smoking in class, setting off firecrackers in the boys' bathrooms, and even worse. Supposedly, Bo stole a car, but no one knew for sure. Hi," Elaine mumbled. "Is this detention?" "No, it's dissecting class," Bo replied sarcastically. "The dead rats will be here in a minute." "I can't wait," Elaine replied, trying to sound cool. The guy at the blackboard giggled. "Dead rats make great pets," he replied. "You don't have to walk them." "Gross." The girl with the bad makeup rolled her eyes. She tossed a crumpled up piece of paper at Bo. Bo caught the paper and set it on his desk. Then he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a disposable butane lighter. He flicked the cover open, snapped it to life, and held the paper ball to the flame. "It's 8 o'clock in the morning, and they're setting the place on fire," Elaine thought. The paper went up in seconds. Yow, Bo barked, dropping it on the floor. You're going to set off the sprinkler system, Jerry warned. Bo sneered. So what? I can't afford to get in any more trouble, Jerry replied. Who can? The girl shot back. Jerry turned to his book. Hey, Elaine, Bo called. You going to sit down or what? You're making me nervous. Sorry, she mumbled. She set her backpack down and took a seat near the door. Hi, Elaine, Jerry nodded at her. Get that trig homework done? Ha ha, very funny, Elaine smiled, grateful for a friendly face. What did you do? Excessive brown-nosing, muttered the guy at the blackboard. Elaine took a closer look at what he was drawing. Graffiti. In big, swirling letters he had written, I will not. The rest was yet to come. Jerry ignored him. Did you dissect frogs in bio? He asked. Yeah, Elaine answered. Just thinking of the squiggly intestines and the smell of formaldehyde made her stomach heave. It was disgusting. I wouldn't do it, Jerry said, frowning. It's useless. You don't learn anything you can't get from diagrams. Why do we have to cut them up? You get detention for not cutting up a frog? Bo asked from behind them. I don't think we should, Jerry told him. It's inhumane. The frog is already dead, Bo pointed out. So, would you like it if they cut you up after you're dead? I hope they do, Bo replied. They might learn something. Jerry snorted and turned back to Elaine. I just didn't want to do it. Elaine shrugged. She didn't have any moral objections to cutting open a frog. It was just gross. Mrs. Blaker gave you detention for that? The guy at the blackboard asked. She gave me a choice, Jerry replied glumly. Either dissect the frog or go to detention and write a 1,000-word report on amphibians. And you chose this? The guy asked. Jerry shrugged. For a smart guy, Bo said, shaking his head. You sure are stupid. I don't expect you to understand, Kendall, Jerry sneered. Duh, okie dokie, Bo replied. He tore several pages out of a textbook and fanned them like a hand of cards. He flicked open his lighter and set them on fire. Knock it off, Jerry replied. Duh, I can't, Bo said. I don't know right from wrong, remember? Bits of burning paper floated through the air. Elaine ducked away from them. She wondered what Bo planned to do when the paper burned down to his fingers. Bo began to tear more pages out of the book in front of him. Hey, stop. Elaine whirled around to see Mr. Savage in the doorway. Put that out. Put that out. Right now, he cried. Okay, Bo replied. He walked slowly to the front of the room and dropped the whole thing in the garbage can. Then he grabbed a flower vase off the teacher's desk. He yanked the flowers out and poured the water over the flames. He replaced the flowers in the empty vase. Then he turned to the principal and smirked at him. Happy now? Is this guy nuts? Elaine wondered. What is he trying to prove? I hope you don't have any plans next Saturday, Bo, Savage said. His voice shook with rage. Because you'll be here for another detention. Nuts? Bo smacked his forehead. There goes that croquet tournament? The brown-haired girl giggled into her hand. Elaine couldn't believe them. She and her friends didn't like Savage either, but she would never purposefully be disrespectful to him. It was like asking for more trouble. Mr. Savage stepped toward the girl. If anyone should keep her mouth shut, it's you, Darlene. You've cut enough classes to spend another year here at Shadyside. Would you like that? Darlene stared at her fingernails. Guess not, she mumbled. Savage turned to the guy at the blackboard. He'd only gotten as far as, I will not paint. Take a seat, Max. Max scowled. He dropped the chalk on the floor and tromped over to a desk in the first row. Savage examines the chalk drawing. It's a shame you didn't think about using chalk when you spray painted the school bus, Savage said. Your style needs work. You an art critic, Max muttered. Maybe if you didn't play follow the leader with Bo so much, you'd take your talent more seriously, Savage told him. Max shrugged. Okay, people, Savage continued. Here are our ground rules. No talking, no getting out of your seats, and from now on, if one of you messes up, you all mess up. That way you can police yourselves. Wonderful, Elaine thought. These guys are going to get in trouble all day long, and I'm going to end up getting more detention for it. That's so unfair. But there wasn't anything she could do about it. Mr. Savage, how does one police oneself? Bo asked. Savage ignored him. If you follow these simple guidelines, you can go home at 3. If you don't, you come back next Saturday with Bo. Understood? Yes, Jerry replied, a little too loudly. Max made a snorting noise. Savage surveyed the group one last time, his gaze moving from one student to the next. Elaine couldn't tell if he enjoyed punishing them or not. Some teachers lived for it. Mr. Savage was hard to read. "I'll be back shortly," he murmured, heading to the door. Out of the corner of her eye, Elaine saw movement. She glanced over her shoulder and saw Bo standing up. She heard a click. Savage didn't turn around. Bo raised his arm above his head. With a sick feeling, Elaine realized what he held. A switchblade knife. Elaine gasped as Bo hurled the blade at Savage's back. Chapter 3. The knife spun through the air. Elaine heard it whistle as it flew over her head. The classroom door slammed shut. The knife thunked into the bulletin board next to it. Savage never knew what happened. Elaine let out the breath she'd been holding. Bo had timed his throw perfectly. Or had he? Bo was definitely crazy enough to show off, but was he crazy enough to try to kill Mr. Savage in front of 4 other people? Elaine realized her hands were locked around the edges of her desk. Her knuckles were white. She forced herself to let go. "Police that?" Bo laughed. "What was that for?" Jerry demanded. "A knife, stupid," Bo answered, striding toward the door. "You could have killed him, Bo," Darlene cried. "Yeah, man," Max agreed. "That was pretty dumb." Elaine felt surprised. She figured Bo's friends would think the switchblade was funny. "Well, I'm dumb, remember?" Bo replied. "Bad grades, bad attitude, bad manners. Guess I'm just a bad guy." He yanked the knife out of the bulletin board, folded it up, and put it away. Then he moved to the teacher's desk and sat down. "Nice chair," he remarked. He swiveled back and forth a few times. "I can't believe you," Jerry muttered. "Why?" Bo asked innocently. "You could have killed him." "Are we still talking about that?" Bo groaned. He spoke in a high-pitched voice. "That was so 5 minutes ago?" Elaine glanced nervously at the door. Savage could come back at any minute, and with Bo sitting where he was, acting the way he was, they might all get in trouble. She slumped down in her seat. Why couldn't she have remembered that stupid trig homework? Then this wouldn't be happening to her. This wasn't supposed to happen to a straight-A student. Well, a B-plus student, she corrected herself. But so what? I still don't belong here. Not with these creeps. "What are you in for?" Bo asked. Elaine's head snapped up. Bo stared hard at her. "Blowing off homework," she replied. Her casual tone shocked her. Was she actually trying to sound like being here was no big deal? "Blowing off homework?" Bo repeated. "Hey, Max, when was the last time we did our homework?" "Multiplication tables in 3rd grade?" "Yep." Bo turned his attention back to Elaine. "You think you're tough?" he asked. "I don't think so," Elaine replied. "Oh, come on," he continued. "Take my lighter. Burn a book for me." Before Elaine could answer, Darlene marched up the aisle. She sat down on the teacher's desk in front of Bo, blocking his view of Elaine. Elaine felt as if a weight had lifted. Having to stare into Bo's eyes made her nervous. She watched Darlene. Darlene was so obvious, like a dog guarding her territory. "I'm bored, Bo," Darlene complained. "Stop talking to Miss Yuppie and let's do something fun." "Miss Yuppie?" Elaine frowned. She wanted to say something back, but who knew how Darlene would react? She might pull a knife of her own. "I have an idea," Bo said. "Come on." He stood up. So did Max and Darlene. "What are you doing?" Jerry demanded. "Getting out of here," Bo replied. "I knew it," Elaine thought. "Here comes another detention for sure." "Where are we going?" Darlene asked. "I don't know," Bo said, "but I'm not rotting here all day. Let's go see if we can snag some snacks in the cafeteria." "Cool," Max agreed. "Are you nuts?" Jerry snapped. "Savage said he's going to be right back." "So?" "I'm not getting more detentions just because you can't sit still," Jerry said. "So don't come," Darlene replied. "I won't." Bo leaned over Elaine's desk. She got a good look at his rugged face and deep brown eyes. He really is kind of good-looking, she thought, if you like that type. "What about you?" he asked her. "What about me?" He smirked at her. "Are you coming with us?" Elaine felt her cheeks heat up. She tried to meet his gaze. Why was it so hard to make eye contact with him? "Let's go," Darlene growled. Bo ignored her. He continued to stare at Elaine. "Think about it. Either way, you'll probably end up with more detention. Savage used to say, if one person messes up, everyone gets in trouble, even back when he was teaching driver's ed. Basically, you've broken the rules already. You might as well come along and get some food out of it." Elaine knew she should stay put, but she couldn't help it. Deep down, she was glad Bo wanted to include her. It wasn't like they were doing anything really bad. and besides, she didn't want Darlene to make any more Miss Yuppie comments. Okay, Elaine replied, getting to her feet. Let's go. Bo grinned. That was easy, wasn't it? Great, Darlene muttered. She rolled her eyes. Elaine, are you crazy? Jerry yelped. You'll get busted. So will you, Jerry, she replied, even if you just sit here. Come on. No way. Leave him, Elaine, Max growled. He wasn't invited anyway. Okay, Bo blared. Let's get out of here. He slowly opened the classroom door. The hinges squealed. Bo slipped through the door and peered up and down the hallway. All clear? I'm not covering for you, Jerry called after them. Shut up, Max muttered. Seriously, Jerry continued. I won't do it. Bo stepped out into the hallway. Darlene grabbed onto the back of his army jacket, and Max followed. Elaine crept along after him. The corridor was deserted. No sign of Savage. Rain washed against the plate glass window at the far end of the hall, sending shadowy waves of light across the floor. Elaine's heart pounded with excitement. This is dumb, she told herself. It better be worth it. A heavy hand landed on her shoulder. Elaine gasped. She spun around to see Jerry. What are you doing? She demanded. You scared me half to death. Sorry, he replied. Nice of you to join us, Fox, Bo muttered. Now be quiet. Fine, Jerry whispered. They started toward the cafeteria, walking silently. Bo halted every few steps. Elaine figured he was listening for Savage's shoes clicking on the floor. She expected to hear footsteps any minute, but they heard nothing. Elaine felt strange sneaking through the school like this. It was the same place she went every day, the same boring place. But now that the lights were out and the halls were empty, it felt very different. She kept her eyes on Bo as they walked. He looked totally comfortable sneaking around this way, as if he did it all the time. It must be kind of fun to be like Bo, she thought. He doesn't care about getting in trouble. Elaine had a lot of worries. Grades, activities, getting into a good college. Excelling, her father called it. Bo and his friends didn't have to excel, she thought. She felt a twinge of jealousy. She couldn't imagine not worrying about her parents, friends, and future. But even this little act of rebellion was something. It made up for spending a Saturday in detention, and she liked it, so far. The cafeteria was as gloomy as the rest of the school. The long table sat empty, wiped clean of greasy crumbs and spilled milk. The only illumination came from the soda machine in the far corner and a beam of dreary gray light from a single window. The cans are going to sound like gunshots coming out of there, Max commented. I'm not going to buy my snacks, Bo scoffed. Let's hit the kitchen. He pushed through the swinging doors that led behind the lunch counter to the kitchen. He immediately snapped up a tray. Time to go shopping, he exclaimed. He charged into the maze of refrigerators, chopping blocks, and industrial-sized mixers. Elaine wasn't really hungry. She'd had toaster pastries for breakfast, but a chocolate milk didn't sound bad. I need potato chips, Darlene called. Are there any ice cream sandwiches? Max asked. He yanked open a big steel door. Elaine peered over his shoulder into the fridge. All she saw were massive tubs of mayo and mustard. Yuck, Max grumbled. He slammed the door shut. Where's the freezer? All right, Darlene cried in triumph. Elaine spotted her in a corner with a bag of corn chips. Where is the regular refrigerator? Elaine wondered. She glanced around and saw Jerry in front of another big steel door. He held several cans of iced tea in his arms. Elaine grinned at him. Don't look at me that way, he complained. Everyone else is doing it. I know, Elaine replied. I want chocolate milk. Oh, Jerry's expression relaxed. Second shelf. Elaine took only 2 pints, even though there were hundreds more, but no one else held back. Jerry guzzled his iced teas. Darlene chomped through several bags of chips, and Max ate at least 4 ice cream sandwiches. Elaine gazed around the kitchen. She was having so much fun that she'd forgotten about Mr. Savage for a minute. I wonder if he knows we're missing yet, she thought. She turned to the others, ready to suggest that they go back. But something was wrong. Someone was missing. Where's Bo? She asked. The others stopped eating and looked around. Where did he go? Elaine pressed. What do you care? Darlene snapped. I don't, Elaine said. But he's gone. Don't you care? Darlene looked annoyed. Bo, she called. No answer. Maybe he went back to the room, Jerry suggested. No way, Max grunted. Hey, Bo, come on, where are you? Still no answer. We should look for him, Elaine said. Nobody answered. Elaine glanced around at all the gigantic appliances and machines in the kitchen. In the dim light, everything looked sort of creepy. Her gaze came to a rest on a rack of cooking utensils against the far wall. ladles, tongs, and knives, big butcher's knives, and one was missing. "Look," Elaine cried, "that knife is gone." "So what?" Max snapped. "Take it easy, Elaine," Jerry said. Darlene started to speak, but a low moan cut her off. Everyone froze. "What was that?" Elaine whispered. "Bo, that you?" Max called. No answer. Elaine realized her fingernails were digging into her palms. She forced herself to relax. "This isn't funny anymore, Bo," Darlene called out. "Stop it." Another moan. "There it is again," Darlene whispered. "Bo," Max called. A few feet in front of them, Bo staggered out from behind a big refrigerator. He stood there for a moment, swaying. His eyes were glassy. Glistening red liquid covered his shirt and neck. Elaine drew in a deep breath. It couldn't be true. It couldn't. Bo collapsed. He landed hard on the tile floor in front of Elaine. A butcher's knife clattered out of his fist. Elaine stared at his shirt, his neck, his face, soaked with blood. "No!" She let out a moan. Bo's throat. His throat had been cut.